Hello, and welcome to the September issue of the Alliance of Independent Authors Q&A podcast, stroke video, stroke write-up, or whatever we ended up with at the end of this. I'm David Penny. I'm the technical manager of the Alliance of Independent Authors. I'm an author and I write historical mysteries set in Moorish Spain. I'm here with Debbie Young, the wonderful. Are you publications manager now, Debbie? You have so many different hats.
I can. Oh yeah, I can do. I can turn my hand to all sorts of things, David. Yeah. I'm publications manager and a commissioning editor of our advice blog, which is an important publication in its own right. Really, a daily post. Which on a different topic of relevance to self-publishing authors everywhere, and that complements nicely our growing library of guidebooks, which can be bought as ebook or in paperback. If you are an ALLi member, one of the many benefits, one of 21 benefits is that you are entitled to download our guidebooks free of charge. So I marshal that amount of huge quantity of information and put it together in a way that will be digestible and make sense for self-publishing authors all over the world.
Great. And Debbie is far too modest to say, but she's the author of the wonderful Sophie Syers Village Mysteries, which make me laugh out loud as well.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Enjoyable to read.
I'm not too modest to have a not to have a picture of their covers behind me.
Yeah, I've got a guitar on my wall. I need to get some pictures of my books, don't I?
Yes. Yeah.
Either that or learn to play the guitar.
We can have a musical interval in our next podcast, maybe.
We can, yeah, we can. We've got quite a lot to get through this time, so we've got a number of questions. So I'm going to start with one from Dan Holloway, who says that everything he's reading at the moment has the question of writers' relationship with readers at its heart. And specifically, who owes what to whom? Do writers owe it to readers to give them exactly what they want? Do readers owe it to writers to read respectfully? That's an interesting topic. But the topical thing that crystallizes the question he asked is that this week in the news, Terry Pratchett's unpublished works were destroyed by steamroller. I think anybody in the UK will have seen that, which was, I quite enjoyed it, but it's an interesting topic. This was his wish, but was it his right? Dan would love to hear what we think, and to whom do our works actually belong? To the author or to the reader? Fascinating topic. What's your take on that, Debbie?
I think it's an excellent topic and a very insightful and multifaceted question, and I think particularly for indie authors, because whereas if you have a trade publishing contract, you are obviously sharing responsibilities and rights with your contracted publisher. When you are an indie author, the buck stops with you. You make the decisions, and you also develop or not your relationship with readers as well. And of course, we all want to have avid readers hanging on our every word, and we don't want to alienate any of them. I think it's best if we break down the question into several parts. There's lots and lots of different aspects to it there. So who owes what to whom?
I know. Do writers owe anything before a book is published, or does the writer owe anything to the readers? It's an interesting topic because you're writing a series, aren't you, Debbie? And I'm writing a series. I think there is a reader expectation for series authors that the next book is going to return their investment in time and money in what they've read so far. So it would be strange if my fifth book is totally at odds with what's happened previously.
Yeah, because by making it part of a series, you're kind of making a promise to the reader that it's kind of a branding, isn't it, of a particular of your book. So you're saying, well, this is Sophie Syers #1, this is Sophie Syers #2. If you enjoy this one, you'll enjoy this one. So it's important to have. I mean, my books, as you know, the mixture of humour, a bit of romantic comedy, a lot of affection for English rural life, but also there's a mystery in there, and I have to keep battling with myself to make sure I put enough mystery in, because I just because well, there's so much to fit in there, and I have to get the balance right. Because if I had a lot of comedy in the first book and then the second one was completely serious, then I think a reader would feel shortchanged. So I need to be consistent. So I owe my readers a duty of consistency, because I'm asking them to contract with me by buying the second book and the third book and the fourth book, to deliver kind of what the promise is on the series. And equally with your Thomas Berrington books, you've got a very clear offer, and it's kind of a contract with your readers that you've made the commitment that each book is going to be set in a different year. You're writing in 10 different years. There will be a mystery. Thomas will be at its heart, and there will be a little bit of romance, not as much as in mine, but there's lots of history delivered in a way that doesn't sound like a history lesson. There's lots of expectations that people have of your book. So if you, in book 5, decided to, I hope you're not going to do this, to kill off his sidekick, or to kill him off, go to an extreme version, then I think the reader would have the right to be outraged. But as you say, I think the decision as to what to do there rests with you until you have gone public and made that contract with the reader by publishing the book.
Yeah, it's a shame we haven't got George R.R. Martin here tonight, because he's one of the first people to break the compact with the readers that the hero of the first book should not get beheaded at the end of the first book. Yeah, because he just kills people off left, right, and centre. Major characters who he's invested time in, and the reader has invested time in, and even quite late on in the series, these guys and women are getting killed off, and it's a trope that he has made his own to some extent.
And I think
you're right. Yeah,
he can get away with it because he's established that trust and relationship with the audience, or readers, audience of the television program, obviously readers of his books. So people know what they're getting with him. Create that you have to write. If you're presenting your book as part of a genre, a very clear genre where there's a really clear, so a romantic comedy has to have a happy ending, but a romantic book doesn't have to have a happy ending. I would think if I bought a romantic comedy and they all died at the end, I'd be a bit hacked off.
And your readers wouldn't read you, and your sales wouldn't reflect that, because there are, in various genres, there are reader expectations of certain things. I think, you probably know this, but in the old Mills and Boon romance times, the authors were given a checklist of what they could and couldn't do.
Yes.
Yeah. No lying on a bed unless it was like the I can't remember in the movies, no lying on a bed unless you each had a foot on the floor. And you had to have a happy ending, and the hero couldn't be killed and the heroine couldn't be killed.
But then that's why people buy the Mills and Boons books, isn't it? That's what they're expecting, and if there was the explicit sex scene, they would all be horrified and want their money back.
And I think it's interesting, because I think we have a question later on today that will touch on this again. What are the reader's expectations of genre, and how can we meet it, and how should we meet it? So it's a fascinating question. And so just to ask you, what did you should Terry Pratchett have asked to have his books destroyed by steamroller, and should his heirs have acceded to that wish?
I think yes. It would be. I think it was entirely his right, because they were unpublished, and they may all have been terrible. And if they were unpublished, they were probably unpublished for a reason. That either he hadn't finished them, or wasn't happy with them, didn't like the way they were shaping up, and he didn't want to put them out there, because I'm sure he will have been under pressure to publish every last thing he had that was of a fit state to be published. And it's his intellectual property, And although if I was, I mean, I've read a couple of Terry Pratchett books and really admire him and hugely admire him for what he's done, although fantasy is not really my cup of tea. It's, if I was a fan, I would be upset because you think, oh my goodness, what other wonderful characters and scenarios and worlds were we missing there? Are we missing out on? But I think I would also respect that the reason, I assume that the reason he didn't want to put them out there was because they might disappoint his fans. And if that's his,
and they weren't finished, I suppose. No, you know, it's work in progress, isn't it? I wouldn't want to put out my 5th book as it stands at the moment because it's a mess.
No.
But in 3 months' time, it won't be a mess. So you need to put that work in to make it the best thing you can.
Yeah, and I think anybody who goes through that process, as you and I do, of having editors, of having other people look at our books to help make them the best they can be, would be horrified at the thought of earlier drafts going out. I mean, I work at my first drafts before they go to beta readers. Well, umpteenth, not the first draft, it's the zillionth draft that goes to the beta readers, and much more in. After I've had their input, I think, oh my God, how should I send that out to the beta readers? It was so terrible. So the thought of actually publishing it after I'm dead would be...
Yeah, it kind of raises the question as well, as people like Anthony Horowitz is doing new James Bonds, and Sophie Hannah is doing new Agatha Christie's and so on. Should we just let the ghosts of these people lie, or is it justifiable to rewrite or write new Sherlock Holmes books or not? It's all connected together, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I've read one of the follow-ups that I was wary of reading. I'm a big Dorothy L. Sayers fan, and Jill Peyton Walsh has written, I think, 3 sequels to the Dorothy L. Sayers books. I mean, they're some of my favourite books in the world, the Lord Peter Wimsey books. And I put off reading them because I thought they were going to be terrible. And in fact, they were fantastic. They were really, really good. But I'm still not sure that should be allowed to happen. I usually avoid that kind of book. And because part of me thinks, in the same way that every time they bring out part 2 or part 3 or part 4 to a movie, I think, oh, for goodness sake, come up. Do we really need Mary Poppins 2 at this stage? Come up with some original ideas. Come up with new ideas, and it always strikes me as being slightly lazy, intellectually and creatively lazy, to just keep imitating.
I think it's what the market wants and what the providers of the market want. I think big publishers want the same but only slightly different, and I think movies are similar. You know, they want last year's blockbuster rewritten with a slight twist to it. So and it does make you think, is this the business that is imposing this rigidity upon the market, and as indies are we slightly freer to do something different, not to follow that trope of always rewriting the same thing over and over and over again, but writing something different?
I think we are definitely, undoubtedly, freer as indies because we don't have somebody else telling us what to do. And we can choose to follow in the footsteps of all of the different genre writers and formulate things that match the reader's expectations exactly. But what a lot of indies enjoy doing is actually mixing genre and crossing genre and blending them all together and creating their own. Now, be fine, and that's their right, but of course the risk you then take is if you create a genre that nobody understands and wants to read, then you're not going to have the same readers as if you've gone down the more well-trodden paths. And I think that probably leads us into the second question that we've been talking about actually on our Facebook forum in the last 24 hours. ALLi, for those of you who don't belong to ALLi, or who belong to ALLi but don't ever go on Facebook, we have a terrific Facebook forum that is one of our 21 member privileges, member benefits, where you can put a question and have it answered at day or night. And even if you don't do anything else on Facebook, it's worth joining the ALLi Facebook forum. And this is a question that somebody raised. Now and again we get questions that are put that get 3 or 4 answers, and then again you get questions that have like 100 answers, people that really strike a nerve and people feel very passionate about. And this was one of the questions. It was broadly, the discussion was about this 20 to 50k theory, that if you write 20 books you can make 50k out of it pretty quickly, and that the secret to doing that is to just write fast and furiously, not worry too much about editors, professional cover designers, all the professional finishing touches that at ALLi we talk all the time about, making a book the best it can be in every regard, making it a match to trade published, the best of trade published books that are out there on shelves. Quarter, where people are saying, no, forget all that. Don't bother about paying expensive editors. Just get a few people to look at it, tell you it's okay, and then put it out there quick. And then next month write another book and put it out there quick with your self-designed covers, that sort of thing, reducing their point a bit crudely, really. That's what do you think about that, David? Because I know you've been writing in your 10-book series. You've been writing one substantial, hugely researched, excellent book a year. Are you tempted to throw caution to the winds and say, no, I'm going to write one a month now? Much harder to do with historical novels.
We were kind of
you must spend a month on research alone, I should imagine.
Yeah. We were chatting about this earlier on, but I would love to be able to do 2 books next year, primarily because I may break the compact with my readers at the end of the 6th book by killing off one of my characters. And I don't want my readers to have to wait a year before they find the denouement of that situation.
That's a very good point. If you're ending on a cliffhanger,
well, it's not cliffhanger.
Really
they're not coming back. They're not Jon Snow. They're not dead. Not dead.
Only slightly
this character is dead for good. But it's a difficult. It then leads into what would naturally follow, which is somebody's need for revenge, and I want to show that more quickly than the year to wait. But it is difficult to know. I could. It's a difficult one to decide what the right answer is. A lot of these people that are writing these 50 books are not writing 100,000 word historical mysteries. They're writing little 20, 30, 40k at the most novellas or short books. And their readership is avid for new material. I suspect most of the readership of this are members of like Kindle Unlimited, where they pay their $9.99 a month. And they can download as many books as they want, I think, within that time period. And so they're constantly hungry, constantly looking for new material. And so to some extent, that's what this is. Oh God, somebody's ringing me up. Let me see if I can turn that off. Somebody will pick it up. There it is, it's turned off. So the readership are constantly looking for new material. And I think like the 50 Shades of Grey thing, where most writers would acknowledge that it is terribly badly written, but it was consumed by a particular readership. And we have to be careful as writers not to appear to be a bit disdainful of works that we don't consider come up to scratch, because there is a readership for a lot of stuff that we might not want to read ourselves, but there is a readership out there. And a lot of what these people are doing is delivering books that this readership wants. So I don't know, it's a difficult thing. What do you think, Debbie? Is it...
Yeah, I think there's room for everybody. And again, as an indie, as indies we can decide whether we want to go down that route or not. And it depends on, I think Orla Ross said actually in the thread that we had on the Facebook forum, it depends on your definition of success. And for some people, they're not actually having highly polished, flawless pieces of fiction, sending out with beautiful covers. They just want to keep churning out the words and the stories, and they've got lots of stories in their head that they want to get out there. And in the same way that a lot of people read a newspaper every day, sort of disposable fiction sounds a bit too dismissive of it, but I mean, it's that kind of readership, you know, where you want something light to read on the commute, and you don't want a deep, more demanding book to read. And if people are asking, people who are looking for that sort of book are not going to be reading War and Peace the next day. You know, they're maybe
not unless it's in Kindle Unlimited anyway.
Yeah, what would Tolstoy have made of it, eh? I wonder.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, that's how Charles Dickens published his work, wasn't it? It was a daily newspaper.
Yeah, a lot of the big Victorians.
And a lot of the Conan Doyle stuff was the same.
Yeah, and they've been paid by the word, which is so it's sort of a crossbreed with journalism, really. And that was the route to publication. Although Charles Dickens and Mark Twain did also self-published books as well. I think Christmas Carol was self-published. So it's something to think about. It's ALLi's advice is always to make your book the best it can be, because the technology makes it far too easy to publish something thoughtlessly, because the buttons there, you can on Amazon, on Kindle, on the other platforms as well, you can upload a file that you've made on your home computer, and it could be out with global distribution within hours, which is just phenomenal. We're so lucky to be living in the age that makes that possible. But too many people do that without really thinking, oh, should I sleep on that idea before I send that book out and then regret it and unpublish it later? And you don't want to be one of those. And you don't. And the more slapdash one is about publishing, the more likely one is, if getting any readers at all, to get really terrible reviews, which then scuppers your chance of becoming a more serious quality author later on. But if your ambition is just to make lots of money, with multiple short, small books selling at 99 cents each, that's one way. Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. It's too easy for us to say, you know, that's not how we do it, but there are people doing it, and I think there are people doing it in a what we would consider a professional manner. I think if the books were truly dire, you wouldn't stand a chance of making $50,000 from 20 books. You'd be lucky to get $500 from 20 books.
And what those people who are writing the 20 books are depending on is getting people hooked on their series, or on them as an authorial voice. So they'll say, oh, there's another one coming out, there's another one coming out, I'll have that one, I'll have that one. And a lot of those 20 books would be sold to the same readers rather than to 20 different sets of readers. They're looking at getting repeat business in the same way that we are with our series. You know, we're not expecting to get this group of readers for book one, this group for book two. You know, you're hoping to get this group who are just buy that.
Yeah. Which is why series are good in that sense. But I don't like, and I notice there's a backlash at the moment against cliffhangers, doing short books with cliffhangers at the end of each to make people go on to read the next. And there's a lot of kickback against that at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's where you have some duty to your reader to give them some satisfaction. I think at the end you can still have something that will draw them on to read the next one without in doubt, especially if you don't have the next one ready to publish for another year or so.
But I think basically I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to try and do the 2 next year, but whether I can manage that, I have no idea.
It's a hard balancing act. I mean, I'm as you know, I'm by the end of this year, I God willing will have brought out the first 3 in my series. The first one came out in April, second one last week, the next one will be launched on the 6th of November, and it's a hard slog. I mean, they're much shorter books than yours. They're only 60,000. It's hard. It is hard work. So to do that, even at that pace, is hard work. So to do and you have to admire the people who are churning out 20 books in quick succession for their staying power and their hard work. Because even if they're slim, less polished books, it's still a lot of physical labour.
Yeah.
You know, so there is much to admire. Yeah. Although it's not the way we choose to go.
So basically, I don't think we can.
I think it's a debate that will run and run.
I think basically, you know, as members of ALLi and part of ALLi, our ethos, it's the ethical author that we sign up to. You know, that we will have proper cover design, we will have our books edited and proofread, and they will be as good, or if not better, than traditionally published books.
Yeah,
it's a different mindset, and there's room in the world for all sorts of opinions on this. So you can agree to disagree, or disagree to agree, whichever.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the people who are trying to sell, you know, huge numbers of books very quick, huge numbers of books very quickly, I'm sure they would still agree that there is a certain line of courtesy and good manners to the reader. They may think that it doesn't matter, readers will be forgiving, especially of indie authors who have the odd typo in there. I mean, most trade published books have a typo on, but to send out a book that is just a mistake on every page is just plain rude, I think.
Yeah. It is.
So there's a middle.
As we said, I don't think they would sell enough to make that 50,000. Because I presume, are we talking about 50k in total or 50k a year? I'm not quite sure.
Is that 50? I'm not sure whether that's 50k sales or 50k profit or 50k.
No, I don't either. No, I don't. Maybe it's 50,000 sales.
Yeah.
Done it.
There'll be all different versions of it, I'm sure, as well. Shall we? This moves us. We've talked about writing series and preparing your books when they're going to be launched. And I know you have a very precise. You're more organised than I am. You have a very precise timetable of when each different element of your book will happen. And you got me into pre-orders for my books, and I'm very glad you did. For those of you who don't know about pre-orders, what you do, what it means is you commit to publishing your book, whether on Kindle or other distributors, and I think you can only do it with ebooks at the moment. And you commit to having your file ready, your book ready to launch on a certain day, and then Amazon will, and I think Apple do it too, and the others do it too, so that the book says coming soon, pre-order now, and you will get it at the guaranteed pre-publication price. And then when the book is launched, it appears on your e-reader, in your e-reading account, and you get charged. So what it means is you can build up sales in advance of the launch date. And you had a question, David, about how far in advance should you do a pre-order? Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, the question was, what's the minimum pre-order time, which confused me, because I got the impression that they wanted to put it on pre-order the day before publication. And my feeling on pre-orders is that the longer the time period you've got it on pre-order, the better. And this came from an interview I did with Mark Coker of Smashwords, who says you should put your book on pre-order a year before its publication date. And he was very strongly of the opinion that this worked. Apple allows you to put your book up a year in advance. Amazon allows you to put it 3 months in advance, which is what I do. But I like the idea of what you're doing is you're showing your commitment to your readership that this book is going to come out on this date. And I think they respond to that, because I did it for my third book in the series. I hadn't done it before, and after I'd done this interview with Mark Coker, I thought, right, I'll go for this. And I think I had 79 pre-orders over a 3-month period. When I did it for the fourth book, I had almost 900 pre-orders over the 3-month period. And so obviously something in that interim made a difference, but it's also the readership you know, you build up a readership, and then they find out about it. And I think it's finding out about it in advance, and they buy into what they know they're going to want in the future.
Because when you've published it on, I know it works for Kindle. I don't know about the other platforms. But when you put up a pre-order, if it's in a series, then it will be linked in with your series. You have to send in a request to get your books in your series linked. And
I don't think I've ever done that. I think they get linked automatically as long as you use the same series name. Amazon will pick up on that after a week. I think if you want it done immediately, you have to ask. But I think it takes 2 or 3 weeks for their algorithms to kick in and link them.
I was impatient then because I asked when it didn't happen the first couple of days. But no, it looks lovely when it does go up, doesn't it? Because you get
a
block of I've got 3 little titles there at the moment. These 2 that are published, and The Murder in the Manger, my Christmas one. And so if anyone is coming new to the series, then they will see straight away that you've got not only the ones that are out, but the ones that are coming soon. And I think if anybody follows you as an author on Amazon as well, they'll get a message when you put a pre-order up. So it's a really easy bit of marketing to do. It's a really easy marketing tick to get, because you don't actually have to do very much. You just set that plate spinning, and it sells itself, which is fabulous.
With the major proviso that, for goodness sake, get your finished copy in, I would say, a week in advance of the go live date. Amazon, actually, it used to be there was all sorts of gnashing of teeth and pulling out of hair a few years ago, because Amazon said you had to have your live version 3 days before publication. But of course, people kind of misinterpreted that as 3 days in their local time, not Seattle time. Whereas now they give you a nice little digital countdown to show how long you've got to put it up.
It focuses the mind, I tell you, when you've got that running. Because I'm at the serious editing stage of Murder in the Manger, and if I'm feeling a bit lazy, I just go and look at that counter and think, oh God, I've got to get on with it. It's good. It serves lots of purposes.
Good.
So we should move on to the next question.
A bit of a one show moment now. It's just they always we move 90 degrees with a squealing of tires to selling publication rights abroad.
Yes. Now this question came from ALLi author Deborah Bluestein, who writes as Dora Bloom, and Dora's written a couple of guest posts for us recently about launching her first book, which has been very interesting. If you look up Dora on our blog, you'll find her posts, and she said, how hard is it to sell foreign publication rights? She says, I've received an offer from a publisher in Poland, and I've said I'll get back to him. Giving herself some thinking time. And I think her book only came out in July, so it's fantastically flattering, just as when if you get an offer from any other kind of publisher in your home country as well, in your native territory, to have somebody saying, oh, we'd like to buy your rights. The same rules apply, in that you need to make sure that the person who is offering you the contract can do something constructive that you couldn't do yourself, that they will give you value for money on what they're offering you, and it ought to be said that anybody can offer to buy anybody's rights anywhere in the world, and just because you get an offer from somebody who calls himself a publisher doesn't mean that it's even worth the paper it's written on. Very complicated, very difficult as well if you're negotiating in perhaps the publishers negotiating in your language rather than theirs, or you might be trying to speak their language and things can be misunderstood. So is to take as much advice as you can from other people. As a member of ALLi, you can ask other ALLi members whether they've been involved with that publisher. Best starting point really is to get hold of ALLi's guidebook, How to Sell Publishing Rights, by American lawyer Helen Sedgwick, who specialises in publishing and self-publishing law, and co-written with Orna Ross, who has also been an agent and advised enormously on rights, and to read through that and take it from there. It's a big specialist specialist area, and legal advice on if you are unsure at all, rather than signing on the dotted line.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be, with all contracts, you have to be really, really, really careful what it is you're signing away, and what you're going to lose out on if the contract isn't 100% above board. So yeah, always get it checked out. Always get it checked out.
And with the internet, it's very easy to research any publishers who approach you to find out what else they're doing, see who else they've worked with. It's very easy to do desk research.
Yeah.
And a tip I picked up from Helen Hart at Silverwood Books long ago is that if you are ever in doubt about dealing with a particular company, put into Google the company's name and complaints or problems, and it's surprising how often a rogue company will just really show up with hundreds and hundreds of complaints, and that's very easy to, if that is the very least you ought to do before researching. And
I think we need to name check ALLi's watchdog John Doppler on this, because he is like a little terrier over all of these different people. And you keep seeing questions coming up constantly. You know, I've had a publisher contact me, and they're going to publish my book, and they're only going to charge me $2,500 for it. Is this a good deal or not? And you know exactly what John's response is going to be to that, as you be yours online.
Yeah.
Nobody charges you to publish anything.
We've also got another excellent guidebook, which is how to choose a self-publishing service. It's just being revised now, so hold fire and get your copy of that, your latest copy of that, a bit later this year. That gives you lots of advice on how to use, not just selling, not particularly on selling rights, but on all different aspects of using different services generally, and it also writes specifically about the most likely services that you might be offered. And John also has a terrific page on the blog, which is a whole list of different services and providers who, with a sort of traffic light system of whether they're trustworthy, questionable, or to avoid. And that's another great service that we offer. Moving swiftly on to...
We have we've had some questions about physical meetings. We're all so used to dealing in a virtual world these days. But as you know, on Wednesday, you and I are going to the Bristol ALLi meeting, and we often go to a Cheltenham meeting as well. And I think there is a place still for sitting down face to face with people and discussing issues, even if it's just to complain about, you know, I'm finding it tough, I don't know what to do, it's very difficult. There is a big difference between what you can do in a face-to-face situation as compared to what you can do on Facebook or in a virtual situation.
And things come out in conversation that you might not quite be ready to put on Facebook as well, and sort of public domain like that, but in a small group you feel much more comfortable discussing. You
also get the subtleties of body language and tone of voice, etc., which you wouldn't get otherwise. But, I think yes, but I think people are asking, maybe should ALLi be organising more physical meetings, and that's quite difficult for us to do, because we're such an international organisation that ALLi itself couldn't really take on the role of. We could allow the ALLi banner possibly to be used for them, I don't know, but we wouldn't be organising them directly, because it could be anywhere in the world. Although I think I said to you before, now we have a house in Spain, I'm going to look at organising a Malaga meeting for the winters when I'm down there. And I've got about a dozen people who are already signed up to come, so that would be great.
Fantastic. That is exactly the way to do it, because I mean, a couple of years ago we did think, could ALLi set up local meetings, physical meetings, but we're an online group wherever we hold meetings. You know, most of the membership won't be able to come, and we don't have the resources, the physical people on the ground who would be able to organise and manage sort of corporate kinds of meetings worldwide. But we can give you advice on how to set up a local meeting with people who you happen to realise are ALLi members who live locally to you. And that's how we came to set up the meetings in Bristol and Cheltenham, two major cities that I'm equidistant between. We have mostly ALLi members coming to those, or authors who then join ALLi once we've told them about it. But we simply can't provide that service from sort of management level globally. But if anybody is interested in setting up a local meeting group, then just ask us and we will give you some advice and information and some guidance as to do's and don'ts, because we've been running the Cheltenham and Bristol ones for a couple of years and they go really well.
Yeah. I can feel a new ALLi publication coming on here. How to organise a writers group and all the things that you've learned over the years, Debbie, to do it.
Well, there's also, Orna and I have also been talking about a book about how to run a local festival, a literary festival, because as you know, I run a local festival as well, which you've been very much involved in too. And so there are, and lots of other people run events like that. Susan Collins, I know, does one. There's lots of other people who are doing things like that, and we have the power to do that, and we can give advice and guidance on that. One of the things that we absolutely have to mention here is that although we don't, because we can't offer a conference presence, a physical conference presence or meeting that everybody could attend, we have the wonderful Indie Author Fringe, which by definition is not only able for everyone to reach because it's online, so wherever you are, if you've got internet access, you can join our Indie Author Fringe conferences. Even better, it's free, even if you're not a member ALLi. If you come to an Indie Author Fringe and you don't want to join ALLi by the end of it, then I will be very amazed. David, you are a key player in that. You're part of our little triumvirate.
Yeah, there is. There's three of us. And
making that happen. Yeah. Do you want to just give a little plug to the next one?
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. In particular, we've got several people, one of whom I know of. We have Christine and Catherine Rush and Dean, what's his name? I was going to say Dean Moriarty, but that's the wrong guy, isn't it? He's from on the road. Dean Wesley Smith. They are married, and Christine Catherine Rush. I don't know if you know, years and years ago, I used to be published in Galaxy magazine, and I never managed to get into fantasy and science fiction. And Christine Catherine Rush was editor of fantasy and science fiction for about 8 or 10 years. So I just bowed down in total awe of her ability. But she and Dean are doing a session for us for the Indie Author Fringe, which we're really excited and pleased about. It's going to be a fantastic thing to watch that. And there's a whole bunch of, I mean, there's the usual suspects. There's Joanna Penn, who is always good value for money, and a whole bunch of other people that are coming up. And you can just look at the self-publishing website, selfpublishing.org. And
self-publishing advice.
Selfpublishingadvice.org, that's right. I only maintain the website. I can't even remember what it's called. And you will see the speakers that we have currently lined up. That's only about half of the number that are scheduled to come on board. And the topics that they're going to talk about. And even if it was only the 14 or so that are up there at the moment, it would be well worth attending. But there's going to be something like 30 or 40 people attending that, and just such a rich thread of information that's going out there, which is going to be great, which loads of stuff to do, which in a way kind of brings us up to our final question of tonight, Debbie, which is, we're all coming, well, I'm not coming back from a summer break because I don't have a summer break. I've been writing my 5th book like crazy, but other people are coming back from summer breaks, and you raised an interesting question of, what is it we want to learn between now and Christmas? What is it we don't know that we want to learn between now and Christmas? So what do you want to learn, Debbie?
Well, my main thing that I want to learn is to read up and do some training on author on Amazon marketing services, because I think Amazon adverts are terrific. And again, you introduced me to those, David, because you're our main spokesman on that, really, aren't you? On the blog, you've written about that from drawing on your experience. And I've been experimenting with a little success, but I'm still feeling slightly like a monkey at a typewriter. And I know if I put some time into learning it properly, then I'm confident that I could do much better. So it's a question of discipline for me to decide to sit down and set that time aside. And between now and Christmas would be great for me, because then I also get very excited about the start of new calendar years as well, and have lots of resolutions. I think it's partly because I've got a 14-year-old daughter, who goes back to school on Wednesday, so we're very much in back to school frame of mind at the moment. But I also worked in the school for 13 years, and so I've never really stopped thinking in terms. And I love new beginnings, and when you're an indie author, you can always start any time. And reinvent yourself. It's never too late to learn. We should always be learning more, particularly because in this business things change so quickly.
They do. They do. Yeah, I think the lesson to take away is that if you decide you're not going to start learning new stuff, then you shouldn't be in the business of being an indie author, because, as you say, what works now, you can guarantee something is going to come along, and next year it's going to blow out of the water, and there will be something else new to learn. So you have to have this constant seeking for what is the next opportunity that can help me.
Yes, and I'm sure in January I'll be saying, oh God, I didn't know about this, I'm going to have to learn this now. But that's great, and there are lots of courses out there, but lots of courses cost money. There are a few free courses, but the fast track to learning a little bit about everything is to get onto the ALLi self-publishing advice, author advice centre, on selfpublishingadvice.org. The new blog post every day about a different aspect. There's also a search box on there, and you can search if there's any particular question that you have about a particular topic. Put the keyword into the search box. We are almost guaranteed, with our back catalogue of about 1,600 posts now, we will have something that will give you a start on it. And then the guidebooks, of course, as well, and the Indie Author Fringe. One of the great things about the Indie Author Fringe is they're always the topics of the moment. So all of those resources are great learning resources, and that is part of the reason for the Alliance of Independent Authors existing at all, to share best practice, keep us all on our toes, us included.
It is. I think I'm going to have to do a little quick course on public speaking, because I've got to do a whole day's presentation in Zurich in November. I have never done anything like that before.
Just be yourself.
8 hours though. That's just 8 hours of me is a long.
That's a long time. That is a lot. That's a lot.
Even my wife can't stand that. Good. So we'll call it a close for this month. Thank everybody who's listened, read, heard, watched. Yes,
and Dora and Dan for their questions, and for other people who've contributed to the conversations that have triggered questions today as well. There is a place on the blog where you can submit questions for next time. If you're a member, join, and you haven't joined our Facebook forum, do that, and you can ask questions there anytime. And we will always do our best to answer them for you. So, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next month. We'll see how much we've learned by next month, shall we, David?
We will, yeah. My presentation skills might be better by then, so we'll see. But I don't want any marks out of 10. Thank you very much. So thanks for being with us, and see you next month.
Okay, bye everybody. Bye.